Shalom Israel, all praises to the Most High, our glorious King of Kings and our only true Savior. I want to talk to you today about stiff-necked and disobedient people. A lot of them are the very teachers out there on YouTube and other platforms. Some of them are really not aware that they're false teachers. They really believe that they're bringing the truth, and some of them, they know that they're liars. So today we're going to talk about that. We're going to be in Jeremiah chapter 17. Jeremiah 17, the folly of misplaced trust, the depth of Judah's sin. Pen and paper for Judah's sin. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron. You can find that in verses 1 through 4 in chapter 17. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron. With the point of a diamond, it is engraved on the tablet of their heart and on the horns of your altars. While their children remember their altars and their wooden images by the green trees on the high hills. O my mountain in the field, I will give as plunder your wealth and all your treasures, and your high places of sin within all your borders. And you, even yourself, shall let go of your heritage which I gave you. Now these high places, it's their places of worship. They, instead of worshiping the true Father, they were worshiping idol gods. Judah, as most of you already know, was the head of all the tribes. Judah was the head tribe. So his punishment was more severe than the rest, because it was Judah that led the other tribes astray, as we will probably come across that later. And I will cause you to serve your enemies in the land which you do not know, for you have kindled a fire in my anger which shall burn forever. Now the sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron. As a prophet, he begins to describe the character and extent of Judah's sin. He starts with a figure that emphasizes the hardness and strength of Judah's rebellion against the Most High. Their sins were engraved deeply upon them, as if written with an iron pen and with the point of a diamond. There was nothing superficial about their sinful state. A pen of iron was used for cutting inscription in rock or stone. So that's pretty serious. The point of the metaphors is not the hardness of the material used, but the indelible nature of what is written on the tablet of their heart and on the horns of their altars. Both the heart and the religious works of the people were deeply etched with sin. That is the metaphor of the pen with the diamond tip. These bore the indelible marks of Judah, determined rebellion. The people's heart has guilt not only written all over it, but etched into it, engraved beyond erasure. Now I want to stop here for a second, and I want to talk about some of the things that I see being taught on the YouTube platform. And I hope you guys, none of you guys follow this mess, but I've seen teachers in the same breath teach, love your brother, and do not mock the Most High, and don't slander your brother's name. In the same breath, they do exactly that. And they actually believe that they are in the grace of the Most High. That's simply not true. You cannot do these things and be covered by the grace of the Most High. That would make the Most High incompetent because he don't support that. But I see this a lot. Etched into it, engraved beyond erasure. Only when the Most High wrote his laws on his people's heart could obedience replace rebellion. The reference to the horns of their altars may be to the altars of Baal, and I seriously don't doubt that. While their children remember engraving upon a stone tablet, this lasts for generations, and so would the etching of sin upon the heart of the altar set, a sinful course for the coming generations. Their sin was written so deep and in such places that it would be read for generations. Don't we see that today? I will cause you to serve your enemies. For all this deeply ingrained sin, especially idolatry with wooden images up on the high hills, the Most High promised to bring his judgment upon Judah. The folly of trusting in man. Now, before I get into this part, I want to talk a little bit about the folly of trusting in man. There's teachers out there who have a huge number of followers, and I follow them not for lesson, so to speak, but to watch for errors. And I see a huge, tremendous amount of errors in the Sabbath days, in tithing, in the actual deliverance of the lessons itself. I don't know what made these people think that they were called to teach. You cannot bring the Most High's truth unless you have the truth. Now, I want to go back to the new moon. If they're not following the new moon and the Sabbath that follows, the Most High says out of his own mouth that they will forever be in error. They will lose their way. They will forget the Torah. They will be out of order. Now, it's clear to me because I have seen some of their own videos proclaiming the keeping of the Sabbath, which they follow according to the Gregorian calendar. That is the tradition of man. How can you be a faithful follower of the Most High and not know this? These are some things that we should all look for. We should look for the fruit they bear, because the Most High says, you will know them by the fruit they bear. So the folly of trusting in man, thus says the Most High, cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart departs from the Lord. For he shall be like a shrub in the desert, and shall not see when good comes. They don't see. Why? Because the Most High has apparently shut their eyes. Now, I'll tell you something. The Most High will knock on your door for just so long. And if you continue to say, go away, then he will eventually shut you off. When he shuts you off, you don't get to come back. It's done. And I believe this is what's happened to a number of these, I call them false teachers. Now, some of them may not be cut off. Maybe the Most High just hasn't opened their eyes yet. And I pray that one day that he does, because these guys are in severe error. But anyway, and all shall not see when good comes, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness. This is what happens when you don't see the truth. You follow the lie. And I'll read it again. And shall not see when good comes, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land which is not inhabited. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Most High, and whose hope is the Most High. For he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and will not fear when heat comes. But its leaf will be green, and will not be anxious in the year of drought, nor will cease from yielding fruit. Cursed is the man who trusts in man. One might say that this curse does not require the special activity of the Most High. This curse is simply associated with trust placed on failing, fallible man. This is especially true because one cannot make flesh his strength without also the heart departing from the Most High. He shall be like a shrub in the desert. All right. So now Jeremiah pictured a weak, dry shrub in the desert about to die from drought. This is the picture of the one, believer or not, who trust in man instead of the Most High. They are dry and unsustainable. The shrub of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 6, could be the dwarf juniper, stunted and barely alive in an area of low rainfall and poor soil, like a shrub in the desert. According to Noga Haruvani, an expert on plants of the Bible, in Hebrew, the name of this tree is called the Arar, which sounds similar to the word for cursed, Arar, and is part of wordplay which is central to this. The Bedouin call this tree the cursed lemon or Sodom apple because it grows in the desert salt lands that surround the Dead Sea where Sodom and Gomorrah once were. According to their legends, when the Most High destroyed Sodom, he cursed the fruit of this tree also. When opened, the fruit makes a hissing sound, as in a hollow and filled with webs and dust and a dry pit. Interestingly, the cursed tree looks very healthy and abundant, as if it has survived even in hard times and still has done well in life. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Most High. In contrast, the one who trusts in the Most High will be like a tree planted by the waters, whose leaf will be green. Jeremiah drew on the images of Psalms 1, where the blessed man is the one who delights in the Most High's word. That's Psalms chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. In some sense, Jeremiah thought trusting in the Most High to be the same as delighting in his word. Now, since Jeremiah offers two variations on the theme of Psalms 1, here in 17, verses 5 through 8, and also in 12, verses 1 through 2, it seems possible that Psalms 1 was available to the prophet Jeremiah. Now, the folly of trusting one's own heart. This is one of our biggest downfalls. And it also may have a lot to do with the misfollowings of the crowd I see on YouTube following behind these false teachers. But they're trusting their hearts. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? The Most High searched the heart. I test the mind, even to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. The heart is deceitful above all things. Trusting the heart is just another way of trusting in man. To this point, the prophet Jeremiah has given some reason to be cautious about inclinations and direction of the heart. Now he noted how the evil heart of the people of Judah had led them astray. Yet they did not obey or incline their ear, but everyone followed the dictates of his evil heart. Jeremiah chapter 11 and verse 8. They prophesied to you a false vision, divination a worthless thing, and the deceit of their heart. You find that in Jeremiah chapter 14 and verse 14. Each one follows the dictates of his own evil heart, so that no one listens to me. Jeremiah 16 and 12. The heart is deceitful above all things. Our heart often deceives us, presenting heart fulfillment as the key to happiness. What we desire is often not what we need. The advice, be true to your heart, fails when the heart is deceitful above all things. So that saying, be true to your heart, don't follow that. Stay away from that. In the Old Testament usage, the heart signifies the total inner being and includes reasons. From the heart come action and will. From the heart comes action and will. The depravity and perversity of the man's heart, full of harlotry and creature, confidence, deceiving and being deceived, is here plainly and plentifully described. And oh, that it were duly and deeply considered and desperately wicked. The heart is not only deceitful, but also wicked and desperately so. Many have been led to rebellion, disobedience, and great sorrow by following their heart, without challenging their heart and judging it by the measure of the Most High's truth. We must always, even when it comes to yourself, don't trust in man, and even go and recheck yourself. Recheck yourself. Follow your heart is poor advice when the heart is desperately wicked. The sense of the Hebrew for desperately wicked seems to have sickness more than depravity in mind. Unregenerate human nature is in a desperate condition without divine grace, described by the term gravely ill in verse 9. In the RSV, is desperately corrupt. And the NEB, desperately sick. Either way, it's not a good thing. For the believer, under the renewed covenant, there is no new covenant, as we've been taught. The Most High has simply renewed the original covenant which our forefathers broke. There was no need to make a new one. He just simply renewed the old one, which means he gave us another chance. We have a new heart. You can find that Ezekiel 36 and 26, or a new creation. Still, there is an element of sin and flesh that remains in the believer. Since Jeremiah used the term heart in a general sense, we can say that our identity is not deceitful and desperately wicked. Yet we still have to deal with an element of inward deceit and wickedness. Who can know it? The heart's deceit and the wickedness are advanced enough that even the individual may not know or understand their own heart. This is serious. And outsiders have even more difficulty in discerning the hearts of others. I, the Most High, search the heart. I test the mind. Though knowing the heart of oneself or others is difficult and sometimes impossible, the Most High searches, tests, and knows the heart and mind. It is wise to trust what the Most High says about us more than what we think or feel about ourselves. The Most High says, I test the mind. A second word here, set in parallel to heart, literally is kidneys, is hidden depths. These are assays or tests. The two terms heart and kidneys cover the range of hidden elements in man's character and personality. Nothing is hidden from the Most High. Even to give to every man according to his ways, because the Most High perfectly knows the heart and mind of man. His judgments is true. The Most High knows to what extent the heart either justifies or condemns the doings of a man or woman. The folly of trusting in riches. Now, I see a lot of these teachers, um, they do videos and they show you everything they're doing on their property. Look at what I got. Look at what I'm doing. Look at how much money I got. Look at all the donations I'm getting. I mean, I'm sitting on top of the world. You know, they are not saying these things literally, but when they do these videos, that's the same thing. They're trusting in the riches and material things. The folly of trusting in riches. As a partridge that broods but does not hatch, so is he who gets riches, but not by right. It will leave him in the midst of his days, and at his end he will be a fool. As a partridge that broods but does not hatch, so is he who gets riches, but not by right. Jeremiah just spoke to the folly of trusting one's heart now. He states a proverb meant to show the foolishness of trusting in riches. Not all riches are condemned, only those gained not by right. Thus, many a rich wretch spinneth a fair thread to strangle himself, both temporarily and eternally. It will leave him in the midst of his days, according to the ancient proverb. A partridge sits upon the eggs of other birds. When they do hatch, the chicks leave the partridge because they don't really belong to that bird. Even so, riches will leave a man when he stands before the Most High in judgment. In the end, he will be shown to be a fool for trusting in his ill-gotten gains. Ill-gotten gains is like a bird with young she has not hatched, soon lost. The reference of the partridge is to the popular belief that it would hatch the eggs of other birds, just as the fledglings soon realize the false nature of the mother and depart from the nest. So riches unjustly acquired all disappear when the owner is counting on them for security. Just as you are ready to use these ill-gotten riches, they disappear. The folly of failing to trust in the Most High of all glory. A glorious high throne from the beginning is the place of our sanctuary. O Lord, the hope of Israel, all who forsake you shall be ashamed. Those who depart from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken the Most High, the fountain of living waters. A glorious high throne from the beginning is the place of our sanctuary. Jeremiah has shown the folly of trusting in anything other than the Most High. Now he will show, by contrast, the greatness of trusting the Most High, who was symbolically enthroned at the temple in Jerusalem, the place of our sanctuary. The phrase throne of glory or glorious throne is a reference to the temple where the Most High's presence was known among his people. A glorious high throne. This may be described as one of the greatest words of the Old Testament. It expresses the deepest secret of life, the discovery of the soul, perpetual peace and poise and power. Whatever may be the circumstances of the passing hour, the throne is sanctuary, and the authority, the executive action, the government of that throne, man finds the place of safety and refuge from all the forces which are against him. As he is cursed who trusts in man, so he is blessed who trusts in the Most High. He is represented as on a throne in his temple. To him, in the meaning of grace, all should resort. He is the support and glorious support of all that trust in him. Not money, not man, but the Most High. O Lord, the hope of Israel. The Most High was the true and confident hope of Israel, even if many turned away from him. Those who did turn from him would be noted and recorded, shall be written in the earth, and will come to shame for foolishly rejecting him. Now, I want to read Jeremiah's prayer for deliverance. And it starts, a prayer for deliverance and defense. Heal me, O Lord, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved. For you are my praise indeed, they say to me. Where is the word of the Lord? Let it come now. As for me, I have not hurried away from being a shepherd who follows you, nor have I desired the woeful day. You know what came out of my lips. It was right there before you. Do not be a terror to me. You are my hope in the day of doom. Heal me, O Lord, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved. In contrast to the foolish people of Judah who trusted in man, in their own heart, or in riches, Jeremiah looked to the Most High. The covenant father of Israel, Jeremiah, was confident that healing and or salvation from the Lord would be true healing and true rescue. Now, it's hard to say if the healing Jeremiah cried out for was literal or spiritual in nature. And in the bigger picture, it doesn't really matter. Either need was real, and the Most High's ability to heal both our physical and our spiritual need is true and proven. Now, you are my praise. Even in his need of healing and salvation, Jeremiah could praise the Most High, even making the Most High himself his praise. Though in pride, others demanded an immediate revelation of the Most High and his power. In other words, most of these pagans and these lost Israelites, when they pray, they expect something to happen immediately. They want instant gratification. And Jeremiah was willing to wait and trust in the Most High. As for me, in a series of brief statements, Jeremiah defended and justified his ministry before the Most High. He did this to contrast himself with those who demanded the Most High bring immediate revelation and resolution. I have not hurried away from being a shepherd that follows you. Remember that? Jeremiah was confident in his pursuit of the Most High's call on his life. Nor have I desired the woeful day. These are certain inserts that I've taken from that prayer. I'm just reiterating. Nor have I desired the woeful day. Jeremiah spoke much of the judgment to come, but he did not desire it. It was a painful message for him to deliver. You know what came out of my lips. This is what Jeremiah said to the Most High. You know what came out of my lips. You were there. They were right there before you. Jeremiah could appeal to the Most High as the one who heard and judged his message, seeing that it really was faithful to the voice and the heart of the Most High. You are my hope in the day of doom. You are my hope, Most High, in the day of doom. Jeremiah proclaimed his trust and hope in the Most High alone, not in J-Man or anybody else, especially some man, not in the folly of most of the people of Judah. The word shepherd usually refers to a king, but here it refers to Jeremiah as a leader of the people. A prayer for the justification of the Most High's prophet. Let them be ashamed who persecute me, but do not let me be put to shame. Let them be dismayed, but do not let me be dismayed. Bring on them the day of doom, and destroy them double destruction. Let them be ashamed who persecute me. Y'all got to get this. Jeremiah was a part of a long tradition of prophets and men of the Most High in Israel who cried out to the Most High for defense. This was a prayer of vengeance, but a prayer that left vengeance in the hands of the Most High. He didn't take vengeance on his own. And I'm pretty sure he probably wanted to. I know I've been tempted many times to go after those that came after me. But I learned to sit back and let the Most High deal with it. But do not let me be put to shame, because he could defend and justify his work before the Most High. Jeremiah confidently prayed that the Most High would defend and justify him and bring his enemies and persecutors to shame, dismay, doom, and destruction. And that is a fact. I have witnessed it off of people who have came after me, attacking me, and the only thing I'm guilty of is bringing the scripture. An example of Judah's disobedience, breaking the Sabbath. This explains some of the things Judah was doing that led the rest of the tribes astray, which caused Judah to be punished more severely than the other tribes. Jeremiah delivers a message to the people: obey the Most High's command of the Sabbath. Thus the Lord said to me, go and stand in the gate of the children of the people, by which the kings of Judah come in and by which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem, and say to them, hear the word of the Lord, you kings of Judah, all Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, who enter by these gates. Thus saith the Lord, take heed to yourselves, and bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem, nor carry a burden out of your houses on the Sabbath day, nor do any work, but hallow the Sabbath day, as I commanded your fathers. But they did not obey, nor incline their ear, but made their necks stiff, that they might not hear nor receive instruction. Hear the word of the Lord, you kings of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. At the Most High's direction, Jeremiah brought a strong and public word to all of Judah and Jerusalem, kings and commoners. Their response to this word would measure their surrender or their rebellion to the Most High. The gate of the children of the people. The Benjamin gate, or the gate of Laity, sons of my people, is an uncertain location, but was apparently used by persons other than priests and Levites. Bear no burden on the Sabbath day. Jeremiah simply repeated the Sabbath commands Israel originally agreed to as part of the Sinai covenant. In Exodus 20, verses 8 through 11, he reminded them that this was as I commanded your fathers. Several of the phrases in these verses are strongly reminiscent of phrases in the Decalogue where the Sabbath law is formulated. But they did not obey, nor incline their ear, but made their necks stiff, that they might not hear nor receive instruction. I know this is still happening today. Our people have made very little progress from back that time to now. I reach out to certain teachers and try to help them understand that they are in error. This is not the true Sabbath. You're out of order. But instead of obeying the Most High that says accept correction, they get upset. They get offended. So this is the very people that this is referring to. Jeremiah delivered a clear message rooted in prior revelation. Yet the kings and the commoners rejected the word of the Lord and continued to treat the Sabbath as if it were any other day. Ain't that the truth? So it makes it easy to understand now how there's only going to be a few chosen. Now we can see why 2/3 of Israel are going to be destroyed. Because they have not changed. They have not heeded to the warnings and the word of the Most High. They continue to trespass and transgress and mock and slander. They continue to follow traditions of man. And the Most High is speaking through man the same way he did back then. the Most High is not coming down here to correct you himself. He is doing the same thing he did back then. He's doing that today. If you don't believe me, look at Malachi 3 and 6. What does he say? I don't change. Amos 3 and 7. Surely I will do nothing lest first I tell my prophets. Okay, so they are still the same stiff-necked people that they were then. They are that same people today. A promised blessing for obedience and curse for disobedience. And it shall be, if you heed me carefully, says the Lord, to bring no burden through the gates of this city on the Sabbath day, but hallow thy Sabbath day to do no work in it, then shall enter the gates of this city kings and princes sitting on the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, they and their princes, accompanied by men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And this city shall remain forever. And they shall come from the cities of Judah and from the places around Jerusalem, from the land of Benjamin and from the lowland, from the mountains and from the south, bringing burnt offerings and sacrifices, grain offerings and incense, bringing sacrifices of praise to the house of the Lord. But if you will not heed me to hallow the Sabbath day, such as not carrying a burden when entering the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then I will kindle a fire in its gates, and it shall devour the places, the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched, if you heed me carefully. Jeremiah spoke for the Lord and promised the people of Jerusalem and Judah that if they radically obeyed even this one command, the Most High would preserve their city and their kingdom, kings and princes sitting on the throne of David. It wasn't as if the Sabbath was the only command important to the Most High. This offer to Jerusalem and Judah was simply a testing point. If they were willing to radically obey the Most High in this one point, it would indicate a true repentance and submission to the Most High that would extend to all points. This one point of obedience or disobedience would stand for all the others, just as the eating of forbidden fruit would stand for obedience or disobedience for Adam in the Garden of Eden. The several regions of Judah are mentioned. These were still possessed by Judah and Benjamin. The land of Benjamin was north of Judah. The lowland of Shephelah, western foothills, was the low hills stretching toward the Philistines' maritime plain, west and southwest of Judah, and was the center of agriculture. The hill country was the central region, with the wilderness of Judah stretching down to the Dead Sea. The Negev was the arid south. Reference Joshua 15:21 through 32. But if you will not heed me to hallow the Sabbath, then I will kindle a fire in its gates, and it shall devour the places of Jerusalem. The promise for obedience was great. The promise for disobedience was also significant. The Most High would allow their obedience or disobedience on this one point to stand for all. So whatever decision they made then, whether it was to obey or disobey, it will stand for all. So we all suffered because of the bad choices our forefathers made. And our people today who call themselves teachers are making these same grave errors today. All praises to the Most High. Shalom, Israel.